Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast. This is the official podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society. This is episode 62.5, Below the Deck of Thunder with Parker Rabe. We're going to give a quick call here to Parker, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what it was like to work on the set, as well as the behind the scenes of how Thunder was built and functioned during the filming of Thunder in Paradise. Parker is, his father was one of the individuals that customized and built Thunder, the boat. So we're going to welcome him to the show here and talk a little bit about what he did on the set and his involvement, his dad's involvement in Thunder in Paradise. Parker, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So tell us a little bit about how this all happened. We know that, Hulk and Lemon, they were down there. They started to film this and decided to do it all local in the St. Pete area. And how did, you come about getting involved, your father, and tell us a little bit about the company that he had down there.
Yeah, sure. Well, we started Rabco Competition Marine in 1968 here in beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida. My dad was chair of the yacht club for many years and a world championship offshore powerboat racer. And he was a famous water skier. He skied to the World's Fair to New York in 1964 from right here in St. Petersburg, Florida, down around through Okeechobee Canal and then up the East Coast. So he was very involved. He went to the University of Florida and swam for Florida and things like that. But as far as the movie producers, they got with us. They found us. Via, I don't really know how they found us, but they approached my dad with an offer to be the Marine coordinator for Thunder in Paradise, which was filmed here in the St. Pete area in, 1990-ish. So what we did is we went ahead, and this was just after I was graduating high school, and we went on board with these people, myself and my dad, Randy Rabe. And so we went on board, and we took on the challenge. What they did is Wellcraft built us a 43-foot Scarab, and we got the boat from Wellcraft in Sarasota. They brought the boat up to us as a hull and deck with motors in it and drives on it. We transformed the boat into being what it is on the set. We took a standard 43 Scarab and we modified the deck. We modified, we had to put the Gatling guns in the front and a flamethrower, and all these things would pop out of the deck with CO2. We built the custom top out of 3/16 stainless, and it wrapped around the windshield and all the way to the back of the boat. And let me tell you how hot it was to drive that boat inside that cockpit. A lot of the shoot at a place called Boatyard Village, which is no longer, it's all vacant land, but it's located in Clearwater, Florida, near the St. Pete Clearwater Airport. So we did a lot of the stuff with the jet skis. We transformed those into gray jet skis. And then we did a lot of the shoots in Terra Verde, Florida. And that's a real high-end part of town. And where we did those shoots of the little lagoon there to the boat, it took us about 3 months. We did all of the manufacturing to the boat at Rabco Competition Marine. That was the location of the transformation of Thunder. We also did the cave shots where they went underground with the blue lights and all that stuff. That was all done at Rabco too. We cut the floor in the building about 12 by 12 and dug it about 8 feet deep. And we did all of that with the rock formation in the back. And the only thing I could take you in there to do is look at a concrete slab on the floor and show you that's where we did it. But we do not own that building anymore. We sold it. So, but to go a little deeper into the Thunder project, you know, we had a really big crew from, I believe they're from California that were working with us throughout this whole shoot. And, you know, Rabco was the hub for everything, that building, you know, to do a lot of the shoots. All the prop stuff was in there. The building, they actually took over the building. I think it was motion picture, and did, you know, put all the prop stuff in there. And they did, you know, what was it, the scuttlebutt or something, you know, whole bar scene was out. I was in a lot of the bar scenes there, standing at the bar, but they did a lot of all the props, like all the props, everything to build that bar, the wood, the signs, you know, all the netting, the crab traps, the windsurfers, everything was stacked inside of Rabco. Just the place was an absolute wreck. You know, I was just out of high school and we would go to various locations. One of the big shoots, and you guys were talking about St. Pete Beach, but one of the big shoots that we did were behind the Don Cesar with Carol Alt. So, you know, Hulkster was out there, and some of the parasail scenes, and a lot of the wrestler guys were out there, you know, behind the Don Cesar. That's where they did. Was it called the Scuttlebutt, guys? Is that what it was?
That was it.
Yeah.
That's the Scuttle.
Yeah. So that whole prop was right there behind the Don Cesar, and we shot there. I mean, you know, we were there, and I was an extra in there. Of course, I was 18, and I was just bumping into things. I didn't know what was going on, but you know, I was, you know, it was really fun. They gave us $50 a day, and we thought we were on top of the world. We were out there for 10 hours in the blazing sun, and you know, we were all just having a good time, drinking fake beer and Kool-Aid and holding it up like we were having a good time.
So going back to the boat, you mentioned it had CO casters to pop up the guns and missiles and different things, and it's funny because they shot that a couple times, and I think in every episode they show the same clip. So I find it really interesting that you actually made it repeatable and not just kind of a one-time thing. So what else on the boat moved and did things?
Well, you know, like I said, it had the two hatches up front, and they put these things, you know, as I can remember going back 30 years, but they put them on CO2 rams. So the Gatling gun would come up and spin and fake fire would come out. And then, you know, guys, in all honesty, I kind of forget what was on the other side of the bow, but we cut holes and made starboard covers in the deck, and they would slide out and they would come up. And, you know, like I said, all these things were going on. And when you were driving the boat, the times I was in the boat, you could see some of the pictures where my dad's standing there. You know, there was a stain. This was stainless steel, the cover that went on top of that cockpit. So it got so hot in there that we were doing really short takes. I remember some of those shots you saw were down at Port Manatee, and that was on the southeast side of Tampa Bay, and we had the boat there, and we shot there for about a week, and it was so friggin' hot that they had my dad was driving the boat in all of the scenes that Thunder was rolling, all the shots with you know, the ones where they were doing now the shots where the jet ski flew out of the back.
Yeah.
We actually made a ramp at Boatyard Village, and I did a couple test jumps on the ramp on the jet ski previous to anybody going over it. But they had a Hulk Hogan look-alike, and what they did is they took the boat and they did the take of the jet ski. They did a prop. They didn't actually put the jet ski in the boat. They did a prop with the jet ski facing backwards in what looked like a cockpit, because when Lemon and Hogan were in that cockpit, that was just something we built inside of Rabco, and there were screens in front of them. That wasn't ever the inside of that boat.
It was
that
like
boat was
the size
standard.
of a small apartment. I mean, that thing was huge.
Yeah.
It had
microwave.
Yeah. We were doing some short takes on it just because of the heat. Everybody was dying. There was some windows that we tinted and placed in the front of the boat with the fabrication of all the stainless. And so you had to drive the boat with the top on it. You had about 18 inches between the top of the steering wheel and where you're going to hit your head. Wow. So you had to have your chin up. You had to have your chin up as high as you could to see out that little windshield. And I can remember my dad on a couple of the takes. I mean, they were getting so close to Creosote poles there in Boatyard Village. And it was a really shallow area. We were, you know, you can Google Earth all this. It was a cool spot, but it was small. It was a very, very small area, and we'd come in on a plane and bank the boat on the side, and then we'd have to, in some of the takes, we'd have to take the wheel and slam it as far as we could. The boat would roll up on its side, and we would just hope we would make the turn on some takes. But one of the problems we had real bad with the boat planing off is I think Wellcraft underpropped it because the motors were constantly going on the rev limiters, and they say take off fast, or we try and take off fast with the boat. And at this time, I was in the camera boat on the other side of him. I was driving a Zodiac around with a camera crew on the front, but we were trying to get other angles of shots. But the motors, I can remember, and I can't believe I can remember this so clear, but I remember, they're like, Randy, just floor it. He had an intercom on and everything. I had a radio on my side, but they're like, Randy, floor it and come bank on this turn and, really haul ass. The boat was going on the rev limiters. It was cavitating. I don't know if you know what cavitating is, but the boat, it was pulling. We were turning the boat so hard in some of the takes that, for instance, when you roll the boat up on the starboard side, the port drive was pulling air, and it was really going on the rev limiter bad. So we couldn't keep the boat hooked up, is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. It was going on the limiters, and it banged the limiters real hard, and then it'd catch. And everybody in the boat, it was my dad and 2 other people, but everybody was losing their footage. It was kind of bizarre, and but like I said, we were in Boatyard Village, and we were doing really tight shots with the boat, and we got it to do some things that I don't know that anybody could make a boat do, but Randy Rabe, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
There were some hairy situations, guys. Let me say that, between the mangroves and the Creosote poles and where we had to go. The police were involved. The Marine Patrol was there. The water's blocked off. We could do no wrong. You could set a bomb off out there. Nobody would say anything, but it was a really fun experience for every us at Rabco and myself and my dad, being with Chris Lemon and Hulkster. Terry lives right here in Clearwater. He's a good buddy of mine. We see each other from time to time, and I always remind him who I am. He sees a lot of faces, but I haven't seen Chris Lemon since the whole takes and all that stuff, or Carol Alt. I was next to Carol Alt in all the bar scenes, but I haven't seen her at all, since any of that. Everybody's after 1991, everybody went May 1st, 91, everybody went home. All the boat left Rabco, the jet skis left Rabco, the floor got patched, all the props, there were semis there for 3 days, and it was like a ghost town. Poof.
Wow. Just done.
Something funny on Facebook, somebody brought this up about, they brought it up. They were talking about the Thunder, and the boat is actually painted white now. You could probably do some research and find it, but it is still running around. Of course, it went back to Wellcraft, and they pulled all the stuff off the deck, and then it is still running around, and it's white now, and I believe it still says Thunder on the side, and it's in Lake of the Ozarks, I was told. Wow. This is all hearsay,
That's funny. All right, we're gonna have to do some digging to see the
you definitely have to do some digging
I
on
guess
that.
it's called.
I have a book that has some stats about the boat, so let's see if any of these are right, because you worked on this, so you probably remember. So the statistics that this book gives says that the body was fiberglass, which I assume is right.
Yeah.
43 foot long. 9 foot width at the beam.
Yep.
The claim top speed, I think this is just for the show, was 500 miles an hour. Now, what?
Come on.
What would it really do for real?
73.
73. Okay, that's still pretty fast.
That's still
cruising on the water.
Yeah,
you're moving.
Fuel capacity of 245 gallons.
Now I couldn't be 100% on that, but it sounds right. I'm in the boating industry, and that sounds right.
All right. Dry weight, 10,500 pounds.
Yeah, that's about current.
Oh, look at
that. Dry weight. You put some fuel in it and everything. You put some people in, you put gear in it. You're 12,000 pounds, no problem.
Right, and then I think here's where there's a discrepancy. So you said the engines. This says there were 3 V8 Mercruiser 502 Magnum EFIs.
502, yeah, they're EFI Magnum 502s, and they were a standard motor that Mercury puts out, and they still build the 502, I believe, today. But it was a big motor. It was actually, I think it was the largest motor that you could get at the time, for the package with the Bravo drive that were on the boat. There was triple Bravo drives.
There we go.
And we had some prop combinations, where we would turn one of the drives left and one of the drives right. So we played with that as the motors, the boat was so under propped when we got it, for the hole shots and things like that, but it kept cavitating. We had the hardest time with the boat cavitating, and they had to change the sound of the motors a lot throughout the takes when it went to the movie, because when a motor goes on the rev limiter, those 502s, what the rev limiter is it shuts the fuel off, so it makes the motor, and it shuts the spark off, and it makes the motor backfire. So it had a very unique sound, and it sounded like something was wrong, and something actually was wrong. The motor was going on the rev limiter. What a rev limiter does is save the motor from basically blowing up. So the motor, when we make those turns, that outside motor would go on the rev limiter, and it was really, really loud, and people were like, "Damn it, what's that?" It was really loud. But it was actually like firecrackers.
Yeah,
they had to pull that sound out of a lot of those takes.
To try to give some of our listeners some context, I got to go to the Boatyard Village a few times while it was still open here. So the setup was not unlike Lake Buena Vista. And it was a very small body of water there that did lead through some channels out into the Gulf, but it was a tight little area, and there were a bunch of docks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you've been to where we shot it?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very, and we came in there at 55 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah, we came out of the main channel into the turn, that little cut. There was only 60 to about 80 feet. And we came in there at 55 on the side, and again we had to stay in the throttle throughout all this, and round the ski jump and all that stuff, and then go. It's a small lagoon. You get a slingshot and a marble, you could hit the other side.
Yeah, I'm on
and
Google.
We put that boat on its side. I mean, and then we had to go wide open with the throttles in the turn because they wanted to move a lot of velocity of water, make some spray. So we would actually tab the boat a little bit. The times I was in it, I was in this a couple times for this take, and we would tab the boat a couple. Just to make it throw a little bit more water and make it more, everybody's like, what can you make it do? And we're like, well, this is a really big area. We're in a 43 Scarab with triples, and we're trying to, the boat didn't have the turning radius that it was just very dangerous, Yeah, but we did it. My dad was the brains behind it. Shit, I was hanging on for dear life,
Parker, I just measured it on Google Earth, and that little square lagoon, it was 625 feet square. And you were right on accurate. It's about 89 feet across in that little entrance to the channel. So I can't imagine.
So we came in the entrance we came on a plane in the entrance from the south, banked in there, and came back out, and we actually went back south again and slowed down because there was a bridge or something around the corner.
Okay.
And we had to slow the boat down immediately after we got out of there, but it looked like we were going into another take because we were on the throttles. We had to be on the throttles wide open coming in the cut and then coming out of the cut. Wow. Because the guns were going off the whole time and it looked like an ambush.
And just to explain to the listeners, and if they have not seen the show yet, the reason that the top of this boat was covered with this stainless steel is much like the Batmobile in the 1989 Tim Burton. They could press a button and basically kind of bulletproof the boat. So yeah, steel panels go over it, but they really made it that way.
Yeah. We really did. And like I said, it was a pain to put that top on that boat. I mean, it took 4 people to lift that thing.
Was it done as a single unit that they'd kind of like lift and put on?
No, it had sections, but it had sections, and it was really hard. And when you took the top off, and you could see one of the shots of my dad standing in the boat with those pictures I found on that scrap album at my mom's, but you could see that the boat had a full interior.
Oh yeah. I don't see any special computers. I see it's just
no. If you look in the one, it was just all standard stuff. It had all analog gauges. It didn't have anything digital. It had big Cruiser tabs. It had some trim indicators. It had key taper throttles, but it was all very standard Wellcraft stuff. 1990, and it just had some. I forget. I think it had Latham steering on it, but but it was a great time. I know one of the things that Wellcraft got involved in is it wasn't loud enough at first. And what we did is we changed the exhaust, and we had a guy named Danny Hamilton from First Choice Marine in St. Petersburg. He stayed there all night long, and they manufactured some exhaust plates for the boat to make the headers work. We changed out the headers literally in one night on the boat, the risers, and we started this thing up on the trailer. It was like 2 a.m. This crew was working all night. We had to do a shoot in the morning, and we changed a lot of the water plates where they bolt onto the risers. It's very confusing if you don't know anything about big block motors, but we had to change the risers and the exhaust all in the middle of the night, all on 3 engines. And we thought we had all the parts, and we put it together, and there was a major water leak. Water was spraying all over the bilge. We thought we had it all done. We thought we were going to go do the next take. And we tried to run the boat, and water was spraying all over the inside of the bilge. So they went and manufactured some water jacket plates on a lathe. This is 3 a.m. And they made these things out of aluminum and managed to get this thing patched up for like an 8 a.m. shoot. We came out with the boat. Nobody had any sleep, and we were, all restless. Here I am, I'm 18, just trying to help out, get my hands dirty. I stayed up for 24 hours. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, just being with Hulk Hogan and Chris Lemon, and everybody was having a good time. But everybody showed up in the morning, and the boat was, 100% ready to go.
Why'd they do all that? Just for sound?
Yeah. They wanted to change the headers on it and have the chrome pipes coming out of the back.
Oh, okay, got it.
Something. Yeah, we changed something, and yeah, it was something having to do with noise.
I was gonna say, is that the direction of the film people, or like you guys just decided?
No, I just can't even remember.
No, that's cool. I was just curious. That seems like a lot of work.
It really was, to change all the stainless risers and the exhaust and change everything over. And I think it was, being 30 years ago, I think it was for a sound deal, something like that.
Interesting.
And, maybe for performance as well. But, the boat was basically something you could order from. Anything special. We did paint it, at Radco, and we did all the manufacturing of all the stuff. The boat came to us as a standard stock 43-foot Wellcraft from Wellcraft, the way they would come. And then we just started cutting the thing and welding stuff up. And there was 20 people with hands on the boat for weeks. And then it started to look like something from Creature Feature.
Now, how often did it actually drive on Disney property then, in the lakes and stuff? Did they drive it around there for shoots?
Most of the stuff that I saw that they were doing, that the only shots that I noticed in going through a lot of the episodes that we have all the episodes. So the only ones that I could notice was definitely Rivers of America. There might have been some slow scenes over outside of Fort Wilderness on Bay Lake, but
yeah, I was going to say I think they did some stuff on Bay Lake, but they would use anytime you needed to show the boat going fast. They would cut to your shots from
it didn't matter if they were in a bayou, and they would then cut to the beautiful coral blue water. It just didn't.
You could tell it was on ocean.
Exactly, the waves were a little bigger.
Really?
Yeah, they did bring it. So Parker, I was going to be my question. Did you have your dad continue to drive it for the rest of the series, right? The rest of the episodes, or did somebody else take it over? He did. All here.
We did nothing in Orlando. We did everything here.
Okay.
Terra Verde, Florida. You can Google that. Terra Verde, Florida, at Billy's Stone Crab. You can probably do Google Earth on that. And we did some scenes as we were coming ashore out there with the Zodiacs, where they were yanking the Zodiacs up on the beach, but Thunder was there, I believe, in the boathouse when they got in the fight and they threw him off the dock.
Yeah.
I think Thunder was there, but so Boatyard Village, Terra Verde shot was a lot where he did that. And that's Port Manatee was a big one. Port Manatee, we did, where they blew up the freighter and Thunder goes flying by. That's all done at Port Manatee. And that's, near the Skyway Bridge. It's on the southeast corner of Tampa Bay. And we did a lot of takes over there when they blew up that old freighter. And those guys, to tell you a little bit about that was unbelievable. These guys were from Holland, and they came over, and they were some really nice Rastafarians, and they rented this boat, motion picture rented this boat to the movie people. And, thunder goes by, I think, in one of the scenes, but to see these poor guys they did all the explosives on the front of this freighter that was only about 100 feet, 150 feet. But they were panicked that they were going to actually catch the boat on fire, the freighter, and they were just couldn't believe. I remember talking to the guy after the take. He's like, "Oh my God, my boat!" I'm like, "God, it's okay," But I was in 11th grade, and my dad pulled me out of school to be an extra and to work on the scenes, and I thought it was just great. My friend's like, "Well, Parker's in a movie with Hulk Hogan. You're just not going to believe it." So, but it was a great time, but that's really all the info I got about the boat. Is there any other questions you want to ask me about the shoots or anything? And I can try and see if I can pull them out of my archives in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, if you come up with anything, after we're done talking here that you remember, feel free to shoot us some information. This has been great because we've really, you're the first person we've talked to regarding the show and somebody who, had something to do with it and was on, you were on the show, you were involved in it. And it's so great to hear some of the behind the scenes things that went on with it, because it parallels really well with what was going on at the Disney MGM studios, which was all about learning how things were made and done backstage. So you've kind of given us a little MGM Studios look into the way that Thunder was made. So
yeah, and it's nice to hear how excited you were to be able to work on it, because that was a novel thing in Florida at the time. There weren't a lot of movies shot here.
Yeah.
So being able to help your dad out with that, like with a Hollywood production coming into town, it's like that was very cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we at Rabco, this was, believe it or not, the second time that my dad was approached. We actually did the movie Summer Rental here with John Candy with all the Rabcos.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah. So I was in that as a kid, skimboarding on the beach, and then we did a lot of the shots at the downtown St. Pete Pier. Mm-hmm. All the spectator boats. We had about 10 of our 35 Rabcos out there, but. We did, my dad did a lot with Summer Rental as well, motion picture, and they contacted him, I believe, for a couple more things. But I just know, we were busy at the time, we were building a lot of boats then, and, we were just busy to where he couldn't take on something like that, because to do Thunder in Paradise, it took him away from Rabco, and, we had to move our laminating schedule and everything out of that building, because they came in and they said, "Look, we need the whole building." And we said, well, what are we going to do with all of our other boats and molds, and we just need this 43 Wellcraft in here, and that's it. And then, all this stuff's got to go. And so we had another plant. It was called Rabco Plant 2, and it was a block and a half away. So we moved everything over to that location. But if any of the listeners ever wanted to see, the building, that address was 2063 First Avenue South in St. Petersburg. You can't miss it. Still looks the same. I know there's a couple of shots.
I know exactly where your building is. I'm going to have to go visit that. Yep. We appreciate every detail. You remembered a lot of stuff, more than we could have ever.
Yeah, man. Anything I could help.
Thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. And look me up anytime. I'm here. Well, hey guys, if we could get together sometime, it'd be great. I'm here all the time. I don't travel too much. I'm very involved in anytime you guys want to come down and hang out and go for a boat ride or get a beer, I'm more than welcome.
Yeah, well, I got to ask you about Summer Rental. We're going to have to chat, Parker, because I got to talk about that too.
That's one of my favorite movies.
One of the best ever.
And a few years back, I ran around St. Pete and Treasure Island seeing some of the filming locations on land. So
yeah, well, Summer Rental was Indian Rocks was where the house was, where they were banging back and forth. But we did a lot of the shots where I was skimboarding as a kid on Paso Grill Beach. Yep. And that's,
okay.
Where Paso Grill. So
I know exactly
it was right out there. Right on 16th Avenue at Hurley Park. We did all the scenes with John Candy where he came out on the beach and was looking for a place to sit. But we did a lot of shooting at Gene's Lobster House with Summer Rental, and that was here in Madeira Beach. And then, like I said, that whole beach area kind of got overtaken by Summer Rental. But the sailboat scenes were, in Tampa Bay, like not by Port Manatee, but on the other side at the St. Pete Pier, back when the original St. Pete Pier was there, we did all the sailboat racing scenes with John Candy and all the Rabco scenes. And, you know, we really did a lot with Rabco with Summer Rental,
Cool.
a whole lot. And it was a great time. And I was very young at the time, but it was just a great time in everybody's life to be. But Summer Rental was fun. It was great dealing with John Candy and the other people in it. And a lot of that, something about Summer Rental, the Barnacle, the sailboat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all that was done right there at Billy's Stone Crab in Terra Verde.
Mm-hmm.
That whole lot, and that lot is still there, and that lot is still vacant. We could go there and take pictures of that filming.
We could have Scully
location.
surprises right there.
So what's it going to be?
Well, can you recommend something?
Absolutely. Scully's Catch of the Day. It's fresh grouper. It's lightly breaded, sauteed to a golden brown, and lemon butter and shallots, with a teasing hint of Dijon.
We'll take 5.
Cortez!
Sí, señor.
5 Scully's Catch of the Day.
5 Scully's Catches of the Day.
Bon appetit.
Thank you very much. Isn't this a nice place? Always listen to a gas station at 10. Ain't nowhere to eat.
Yeah. Scully's, it was right there on that bayou, like where Chris Lemon and Hulkster got in the fight. And they threw him off the dock.
Mm-hmm.
That same general area is where Scully's, he was eating the oyster crackers and putting ice on his hat, you know. And then the one guy couldn't find the sail, you know, the Swede.
Yes.
That was all done right there in that exact area that Thunder in Paradise was done in that bayou at Billy's Stone Crab. Yeah, guys. All right. Well, listen, sounds good. Anything else I can do for the listeners? You know, please keep in touch.
I appreciate it, Parker.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, man. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Parker.
See you,
Have a
buddy.
good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Follow the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society on Twitter and Instagram at LBV History and on the web at lbvhistory.org. Follow Todd McCartney and Retro WDW on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Retro WDW. For all things Retro Disney World, including exclusive merchandise, visit us on the web at retrowdw.com. On Twitter, follow our web designer Jason Bartel of Deepwater Studios at JasonDWS. Our announcer, Andre Gardner, at Andre Gardner. And follow our hosts, Hal Bowers, on Twitter and Instagram, at GoAwayGreen, and on the web at kingdomofmemories.com. For JT Kuzier on Twitter, at LS1JT, on YouTube at Rubber City Motoring, and on the web at rubbercitymotoring.com. And you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, at Brian P. Miles. Retro Disney World is the monthly podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society, a non-profit, non-partisan, tax-exempt 501c3 organization, and is not affiliated in any way with the Walt Disney Corporation or any of its subsidiary or affiliated entities.